Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, buddy?
I'm very well indeed. You?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing better since I started the last podcast. I felt nauseous and sick, but I feel better now. And we just got off about a 20-minute rant on the possibilities, all the conspiracy theories that are going on in the world. So funny to hear and think about all those things. You and I are extremely well, I would say extremely well connected in the world, and just by nature of what we've chosen to do for professions and who we hang out with, and just how many different things are coming our way from people that we really respect and trust, and they're not always in alignment, right? So it's always interesting to see when you have person A that you respect and trust and is super intelligent, they're saying one thing, and person B, super intelligent, that you trust and respect, is saying the opposite. It's just interesting to get in that conversation. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, guys. Tim, have you ever heard of Norman Cousins?
Ooh, it rings a bell.
Yeah, so he is American author, right? And he wrote books that you probably have heard as well, like Anatomy of an Illness, The Healing Heart, The Celebration of Life, The Pathology of Power, bunch of other books. Very, very famous author. He's been quoted so many times, really for his ability to not only look at alternative ways of being, but also what makes people happy, right? What makes people whole and complete. We talk about fulfillment a lot, and as business leaders, it's what we're looking for. A lot of us have really pushed the envelope, right? Done the not 9 to 5 for business owners. It's like the 5 to 7, right? 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Busted our butt, made our money, and we look around and go, wait a minute. This isn't fulfillment. This isn't happiness. So he's got a quote, Tim, that I think that you may have heard, but I think you'll like it, because it applies to a lot of the men today, right? We're going into the holiday season, right? We're actually in the holiday season, coming up to Christmas. And guess what's just around the corner? Divorce Day, right? Statistically, we've talked about it before, but 70% of divorces are initiated by women. And so that's why this is so impactful and powerful, because guys, are you living your best life right now? So his quote goes, Tim, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live." I'll read that again because I think it's so powerful. Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. And I think this is so applicable to the men that come through, because they're working their tails off. They built businesses, and their relationship is starting to crumble, and they're doing everything they can, Tim, to put it back together. And they're going into being a nice guy, right? They're putting their needs last. I'll take care of my wife. I'll take care of my kids. I'll take care of my staff. And at the end of the day, there's nothing there for them to give back to themselves. There's nothing left. And they've given it all away. They've forgotten to have fun. We just did a summit where we had 50 business leaders on it this weekend. And when I mentioned the idea of what would you do right now to have fun, the looks on the guy's faces was like, oh, not theory, but what would you really do if you had 2 days off by yourself? Not productive to-do list stuff, not work stuff, but what would you do for fun 2 days by yourself? I think a lot of us guys are in a hard position there, especially when our relationship, which we put all our eggs in that basket, is disappearing. It's crumbling in front of us. So what do you think of when you hear that quote, Tim?
I think of the graveyard being the richest place on earth.
I love that idea. I think that's a great one that you bring up from time to time. So what does that mean? The graveyard being the richest place on earth?
The amount of great ideas and dreams that die with men that never actually get released into the world. Be it ideas in business, be it ideas in their life, personal lives, relationships, whatever. And it's so true, right? It kind of speaks into that quote there by Norman Cousins. And honestly, guys, the breakdown in your relationship is usually the last thing to go. Often, if by the time you've got a breakdown in your relationship, there's been a breakdown in yourself for a long, long time. Your business might look like it's doing okay, but chances are you're never going to feel like whatever you achieve is ever enough, be it in sport or business or whatever. People, might talk about you and how great you are, but it just doesn't land for you. It kind of makes you feel uncomfortable more than anything else. Like you're trying on a shirt that's too small. You just want to get it off. You want to pass it to somebody else. You might buy that fast car or build that home and then stand outside and look at it and not have a clue how you got there. Maybe it was just luck, waiting for the rug to be pulled from beneath you. Feeling like a stranger in your own home. You've built the house that you've always wanted, but it's not really a home. You don't feel like you belong when you're there. You're at home, but really you're thinking about work. You're at work, you're thinking about home. So naturally, the relationship is going to break down. It's inevitable, right? It's a reflection of the breakdown inside of yourself. And, that might sound critical. And it's not, my intention isn't for it to sound critical. It's just the reality. It is. I've never met a man who, we have a saying, right, in the activation method, that the guys that come to us typically, they've been adding floors to a building with crumbling foundations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've been stacking and building and making it bigger and, adding furniture and buying expensive furniture, trying to make the place look good. But it's got crumbling foundations. It doesn't look like it on the outside, but the foundations have been crumbling since day one. And it was inevitable that one day it was going to topple over. Yeah. Kind of like a game of Jenga. You don't quite know which piece you're going to pull that's going to cause it to topple over, but you just know at some point it will. And that's, similar to, the idea of what these guys are building. And until you focus on the foundation, you're always going to be on shaky ground. You just are. And whether you choose to look at your relationship as the mirror, the reflection of the breakdown, or whether you choose to look at your health and how you've been putting on weight and you're anxious or depressed or you're not sleeping very well or you're up and down or whatever it is, or whether you choose to look at your bank account, it's doing the same thing as your weight or your mood or your whatever it is. There's lots of places you can look, guys. You don't have to wait until your wife is walking out the door for the penny to drop. There'll be symptoms that are showing up elsewhere that will tell you the same thing as your wife will tell you when she leaves.
Yeah, it's so true. And then, you think about what comes up for me, Tim, is kind of that idea of I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it someday. I'll take that vacation, that trip with the guys. I'll take my wife out later, when COVID dies down a little bit. I'll read that book. I'll take that course. I'll do that thing that's kind of gnawing on me that I know I should do, right? And should's a hard word, right? But I know I should do. I'll just say it. But I'll do it later. And I read that death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. And for me, a lot of that comes down to my journey, right? Part of my story is selling a successful business. In fact, I didn't even sell it. I exited a successful business would be a better way of saying it. And got in an adventure van. This is before the van life thing was popular, and drove to Alaska by myself, right? And I told my wife, look, I'm going. I want you to go with me. It's before we had kids. I want you to go with me. The seat next to me, the co-pilot seat, is yours. I'd love for you to do it, but I totally get it if you don't want to. I totally get it. And my wife was against it at first, Tim, as you know, but I needed to do it because I knew the greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. My wife ended up flying up to Alaska. This was a 4 or 5 day drive that I had to do by myself, which was epic, by the way. To die with sharks, crazy enough as it is. But the point is, when can we do these things, right? My wife and I doing coaching, right? What is it that we want to do with life? Which brought you and I, Tim, full forward to The Powerful Man, serving men. So they didn't have to go through 10 years of therapy, 10 years of coaching, 10 years of reading audiobooks left, right, and center and dedicating ourselves, that they could get past the pain they're in today in a matter of weeks. And that's what it's really interesting to me, because the men that we run through are just freaking amazing guys that come through this program. They're just awesome guys, the kind of guys you just want to go get a beer with, or a tea or coffee or whatever, and hang out. But yet they're going through what this quote is talking about exactly, right? At that time, it's not death that they're worried about, because if it was, suicide rates wouldn't be so high for men, right? Suicide wouldn't be an issue, but it is what's dying inside of men around the world. That's the biggest issue here.
And the thing is, you look around and you make assumptions, or as men would tend to make assumptions. He must be doing great. Yeah. He's got it all together, that guy over there. Look at him. He's always smiling. His marriage looks great. Always seems to be like they're always happy and laughing, and he never seems to complain about business. I mean, business must be doing well. I mean, he's in the country club. He's got the latest car. I mean, business must be doing well. But then he's looking back at you going, wow, that guy must be doing good. I mean, look at him. But there, all kind of, what you don't really know is there's a war waging in both of them. Yeah. And if they just actually spoke up about the war that was within, they could team up and end that war quite quickly as well. Because the thing that I think confuses a lot of guys is, they think that the way to win the war is to fight, right? Yeah. To resist the fact that they're in war and fight with it. Fight with that internal struggle that's going on. And the way they'll fight with it is either through working harder, or making more money, or buying a new car, or taking more vacations, or getting the Rolex, or whatever it is, right? That's what they'll do to fight. And what they're actually fighting is this feeling that's arising inside of them that they don't quite know what the feeling is, but it just feels uncomfortable. And with every $1 million that they make, and with every new home, with every new car, what tends to happen is that thing that used to be a gentle tap on the shoulder, hey, look over here, hey, look over here, hey, look over here, starts to turn into feeling like they're getting hit with a sledgehammer. And what that feeling is truth.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to lie to themselves. And the reality is, it's impossible to do that. You can lie to your head, but you can never lie to your heart. You just know the truth. You just do. You just do it. It's just impossible to. We'd like to think you can lie to yourself, but you just can't. Regardless of what you're putting on, what front you're putting on to the outside world, whatever you're portraying or saying, you know the truth. And with every false portrayal, it just stacks more and more shame. So the reality is, the way to win the war is just to surrender. And guess what happens? When you surrender, there is no war to fight. Because fighting just takes you further into battle. Surrendering is strength. And at that point, I mean, everything we're describing is the 5 agonies of no man's land, right? And at that point, when you actually surrender, there's a way you can do it. And it's not just about laying down and becoming a pushover, or choosing between happiness and business. It's not like that at all. There's a way you can do it that actually enables you to just walk a different path with a very different result and a very different journey, a very different relationship with yourself, first of all, but then also by default with others too. And that's where you go from the 5 agonies to the 5 freedoms. So it's a great quote.
Yeah. And, you and I got to see this firsthand. Some of you guys listening to this were there when we did the summit over this last weekend, or probably 2 weekends by the time this comes out, and just seeing the men come together, and just seeing the words and the wisdom that was shared, the love that was shared for each other. But, all of these, each man on his own journey, right? Mm-hmm. Each man at different points in his journey. Friday, we opened it up to all alumni, which was fantastic. Saturday and Sunday, it was just for the guys that are in our Brotherhood and Inner Circle programs, which are both advanced 1-year programs. You have to go through either the activation method or the Triadic Connections courses that we offer to get there, to even get an invite. But the level of sharing and of the reality of when each of these men were sitting there and they go, oh crap, it's not just me. Oh crap, he's like me. Oh wow, he's going through a struggle. I didn't think so because he looks fit, in shape, confident, but yet he's struggling in a different area. And that same guy's looking at the other guy saying the same thing, right? He's got it together in these areas. And it was really, really fascinating to look at these guys once they started to really open up and realize what really was going on. And it brings me back to this quote: the greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. And then we saw men from all over the world, all different age groups, all walks of life, all marital statuses, right? At this point, every one of them at least had been married. They all came together. They all came together and they continue to have each other's back. And it's just the alumni group that we have is firing so strong right now. One guy raised his hand and literally 30 men within minutes jumped up to say, I got your back, man. And these aren't like normal dudes. These are business leaders. They're busy. They got families. There's things, but the amount of just pure love, right? Of I got your back. I'm here to help you. Let me know you want to jump on a call. Do you need this? Do you need this? Was just, it blew me away, Tim. Last night I was like, holy cow, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's incredible. Can't remember how many guys admitted to being suicidal on there, either currently or previously. Guys admitted to cutting themselves.
Yeah.
Guys sharing things they'd never shared with anybody in their lives.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised by several of them.
And instead of guys turning away, guys turn towards.
Yeah.
And what they previously thought was going to be their weakness and result in men wanting to avoid them or reject them, actually resulted in men wanting to be around them even more. And one guy actually said, wow, I can relate to you now. You're actually real. I just thought you were the guy that had all his shit together. And I was Googling, how did you buy a mountain? And how did you do this? How did you do that? And I just didn't understand. Whereas now you're relatable. I get it. I can bond with you now. I see you.
Yeah.
And prior to that, both guys were just wearing a mask.
Yeah. It's pretty common. So guys, as we wrap this up, I want to know where you are in this journey. And without judgment, there's no judgment here. There's no need for shame or anything else. But where are you? Right? You're not afraid of death. I get it. But where are you not living, and when are you going to step up and take the opportunities that are in front of you? All right. When are you going to put you first? Even just once. Just try it one time. Put your needs first one time, whatever that may be, the trip, the course, the item, the massage, whatever it is for you, putting yourself first, hanging out with the guys. And when is that going to happen? And seriously, think about this. So guys, we normally have a call to action here where we want you guys to do something. And this is what I want you to do, is just sit with this for a little bit. Go back, write down that quote, put your journal out, write down. If you don't journal, you should, but if you don't journal, write it on a piece of paper. Google it real quick, right? Find that and look at that quote and just sit in silence for a few minutes and see what comes up for you. And then take action. Take massive action, guys. This is your life. We're playing a serious game here, and I want the best for you, and I know Tim does too. And that's what the Powerful Man Movement's all about. So guys, until next time, make it a great week, and we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.